Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of Rogue Actions, guys. We're going to be talking today a little bit about Balin Skull, some thoughts on him, and the Inquisitors of all things. Ram, can you believe we're going to talk about Inquisitors on my part of the video?
It is by design.
It's a bad
My
design.
Palpatine's voice better than yours.
True, it's true. Guys, if you don't want to hear anything about Inquisitors, which I highly recommend, you guys need to go over to part 1 and check out Ram's episode over on his channel, guys. You can find the link for that down below. With that being said, let's get into our first main topic, guys. We talked a lot about Shin in part 1 of the video. Obviously, she's only a third of the equation for Balin here in the main trio that they're going to have. The second part of that trio is MARROK, or MARROK, however you prefer to say potato and potato. So we're going to be talking a little bit today, guys, about him, his artwork, what we think might be in his kit. So to be clear, this is a lot of speculation, guys. We do not have insider information here, but we like speculating here because it's a lot of fun. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the artwork first, guys, and see what we're looking at in terms of that. And of course, it's not working. There we go. Now we got it back. So first of all, the artwork itself, similar to Shin, I think it looks really good overall. It looks very similar to what we saw in the actual show itself. As much as I hate to say this, he's making Inquisitors look cool. Ram, what do you think? Do you like the artwork?
The artwork looks really good.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
100%. The artwork looks really good. I don't really understand why he's an Inquisitor, just because he had the lightsaber of an Inquisitor. He wasn't...
Well, so
he was more of like a Nightsister. When you watch the show, he was like,
right.
You know, it makes sense for a Nightsister port of him, not really Inquisitor, but whatever. Hey, whatever. Balance issues.
I'm assuming, well, yeah, I'm assuming the reason for this is because he was a Inquisitor that had been revived by the Nightsisters. So kind of like how the Nightsister zombie troopers and such like that are technically Imperial Remnant, but they were revived by Nightsisters, so they're actually both factions. So I'm assuming that he essentially is Eighth Brother, or someone similar to Eighth Brother at one point. He still might be a completely unnamed Inquisitor from the past, but obviously, yes, he has been revived and or created through Nightsister magic. So that actually leads me to our first kind of interesting topic here with this. So we know that he's going to be Inquisitor. They kind of confirmed that. Meathead confirmed that in one of the posts regarding Shin and Purge. What we don't know, at least I don't believe, is he going to have a Nightsister tag because of the fact that he was created and revived, so to speak, by the Nightsisters. So, Ram, do you think that he is going to have this Nightsister tag?
I think it would make sense for him to have a Nightsister tag. I don't... So... There's things that make sense for the story and lore, and then there's things that make sense for balance. I don't know if they would add him for balance, because you already have your Nightsister team that's being created with, you know, the Great Mothers, and then you also already have your Nightsister team with Talzin, Daka, Saj, all of them. So I don't know where he would really fit in with a Nightsister team, whereas with Inquisitors, because they're UFU, you can put them in a lot more places, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so I don't think that he's necessarily going to be designed to fit into the Nightsister squad. Kind of like the Night Trooper and Peridia Trooper. Like, they're not really designed to fit in with the Nightsisters per se. They just can. I think he'll probably be the same thing, where he can fit into a Nightsister squad, but I don't think that he's going to have that intention. So, for instance, I think they're going to lean pretty heavily on the Purge factor in his kit, which is clearly an Inquisitor thing. But what I'm guessing they're going to do is, and again, there's a lot of speculation here, guys, to be clear with this. So my guess would be, because he's probably the only Inquisitor in the trio, at least in a 5-team situation, that might be different, but in a trio, he's the only Inquisitor, and we know that Shin has a lot of Purge mechanics into her kit. So I'm expecting that his kit is going to just unleash Purge at an astronomical rate, but he won't really do anything based off of that Purge. So for instance, if you threw him on a Inquisitor team, he's not really going to help them very much. He's not going to add like ability blocks, or he's not going to add any kind of extra damage, stuns, fear, any like. I don't think that they'll actually include anything in his kit that benefits him based off of Purge. I think he's just going to put a ton of Purge out there. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know very much about Inquisitors. As it is with the current like ideal team with Reva and Grand Inquisitor, doesn't Grand Inquisitor already max out their Purge stats at the start of the battle? I feel like it does, and I could be wrong on that. Because doesn't
Reva does.
Reva does. Okay, thank you.
Reva puts it at 6 stacks automatically.
Yeah, because then he gets like the bonus turn because of that, right?
Right. Yeah, he gets the bonus turn because of that, and so he has a lot of benefits because they're at max. But Reva makes them at max.
Right. So as an example, if you threw MARROK into that team, and him giving everybody on the field 6 stacks of Purge does nothing for the Inquisitor team because it's already there because of Reva. You know what I mean? So that doesn't help the actual Inquisitor team at all, but it would help the Balin team, if you will. So I could see something like that happening where he's just a mass producer of Purge, but all of the actual benefits from Purge are built into Shin and or Balin's kit and not his kit. So, which now I'm thinking about it, what's to prevent you from putting Reva with Balin and Shin?
Depending on how their kits are worded. I mean, with the Purge interaction, possible. I don't know.
I'd have to see. I'd have to look at Reva's kit.
What's to prevent you from putting Grand Inquisitor there?
True. Yeah.
Right. If they're gonna have a whole bunch of Purge generation and they get 6 stacks, well then Grand Inquisitor automatically makes sense because you could just he gets that bonus turn and he gets to control the battlefield, especially if you're going against light side Jedi or something like that. He gets to control the battlefield with that.
No, I know why it would be an issue. Mercenary. Reva doesn't have the mercenary tag.
Got it.
That's what it would be. Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm
forgetting because they have all these tags. We're trying to plug and play.
Yeah, all these new tags.
But mercenary,
makes a big difference here. Ram, any other final thoughts on his kit? What you might expect from his kit? Anything like that?
I would expect something. So I don't. Maybe not expect, but I'm wondering if they're going to do some sort of like savior type mechanic, maybe. And the only reason I say that is because what happens in Ahsoka, right? He doesn't. It's not like he sacrifices himself, so it's kind of hard for me to explain it. But he just disappears,
right?
And you find out that he's just been created by Nightsisters. So I'm wondering if they could play that into his kit somehow, as far as like Shin's about to die, but instead of Shin dying, he sacrifices himself. Maybe more like a Fives mechanic.
So yeah, I could see maybe something like that, like Fives, Old Ben. What I think would be interesting is because he doesn't really benefit them when he dies, like because Shin runs away essentially. She's like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. I wonder more so you said about how that's when it became revealed that he was a Nightsister and not an actual Inquisitor. It'd be kind of neat if there's no plague function at all, okay, in the kit, but when he dies, everybody on the opposing team is inflicted with like 20 stacks of plague or something like that, and heal immunity. Like, that would be so there'd be a big benefit to him dying first, but instead of it benefiting your roster, it would hurt their roster, if that makes sense. Something like that would be kind of neat.
That would be cool.
Just to allude, an allusion to his Nightsister background. But yeah, I don't know. They clearly have to limit his ability to function with both Nightsisters and Inquisitors, assuming that he gets both of those tags. I would think he would.
His kit is probably going to have heavy mercenary only stuff.
Yeah,
I would assume. And so it's like you can use him, but you're gonna really not get the most out of his kit until you put him with mercenaries.
What do you think his role is going to be? Attacker, support, tank? What do you think?
I'd say attacker. if we're going based off of what we know about him in the show, that's really all he was there for, was just muscle. He was just there for the enforcer of things. But Shin's already an attacker too, so
that's where I was torn at.
They could go with support, I guess, in a way. He wouldn't be a tank. Balin, we already know is going to be the tank.
Well, you would think he would be, but I don't see him being a support. MARROK, to be clear, I don't see MARROK being a support character. I would think they would want an attacker, a support, and a tank within the team. I mean, they don't have to. Look at like CLS. CLS is just loaded with attackers for the most part. Same thing with JMK. Certain teams just are heavy on attackers, so it's possible that that's the way it's going to be. But I almost like the idea of what you said of him being kind of a tank that sacrifices himself, because he's a distraction on the field, if you will. Like they have to kind of focus on him instead of focusing on the actual two real mercenaries. So I wouldn't be shocked if he actually gets a tank role. I think it's going to be attacker, like you said. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's tank and then Balin actually becomes the support character. That'd be weird.
No, I'm pretty sure they already said Balin was going to be the attacker, though. Or the tank.
Oh, did they? Oh, I must have missed that then.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Balin is going to be the tank. I just don't know where I read that at.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, there's nothing saying that they could not do two tanks, or the thing I see more about MARROK would be more of he's going to be an attacker, but he's going to, if they were to do that whole tank mechanic type thing, that would be like reminiscent of tank for him. His alignment would be attacker, but he has some tank mechanics built into his kit because of the distraction and whatnot.
You could do that. Yeah, because Gas is built
could do that.
Gas is an attacker, but he's realistically a tank. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it could be like that.
Yeah.
Guys, let us know in the comments down below. First of all, do you guys think he's going to have all of these different faction tags like Inquisitor and Nightsisters and I mean, obviously he's going to mercenary. And then 2, do you think he's going to be attacker, support, tank? And then how do you think his kit's going to work? A lot of speculation, obviously, in this portion of the video, guys. But it's always fun. This is the best part of Swugga, in my opinion, was we get to speculate what's coming out, what the new things are, the latest, greatest toys, all that jazz.
I'm just really happy we made Chaka speculate about Inquisitors.
I know. I hate it. But at least this is...
And it was a productive conversation. It wasn't just, I hate Inquisitors. Move on.
So, hold on. Clarification point here. In my mind, he is not the Inquisitors, because he did not come out with that show. He was not pushed out at that time. I actually don't have any issue with MARROK. I wouldn't be opposed to farming him. One of Baby Yoda Eyes asked me this exact question in the Discord. Would I farm MARROK to get Balin, or would I say, hold true to my hatred of Inquisitors across the board and not go for Balin because of MARROK? I would farm MARROK because he, in my mind, is a different thing. He is not that original Inquisitor faction that was pushed out by CG. To be clear, I don't hate Inquisitors across the board. I hate that CG forced that team down our throats so hard. That's what I hate. So, anyway. I'm sure
I like that though.
Yeah, I'm sure all of you were super interested on my thoughts on my manifesto regarding Inquisitors. Anyway, next up, guys, we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit now about GAC. We're gonna kind of talk about the state of GAC here, and in particular, Crons. I know this is everybody's favorite subject. You guys love talking about Crons, but we're gonna talk a little bit here about just generally speaking where GAC is and kind of how heavily dependent it is, unfortunately, on Crons. So, Ram, first of all, I'll kind of ask you this: do you think at this point in the game, especially in GAC, that Datacrons are more important than mods?
Ew, man. Yes and no. It's a loaded question. It's hard because all right, so here's the thing, right? The Crons don't have speed. speed is 100% still the most needed stat in the game by far, bar none. Right. You if you don't have the speed, you will not. It doesn't matter. You can have the best crons, you will not succeed, because you just won't outrun them. And then as soon as that team takes it, it's just how the game's designed.
Yep.
There are a few exceptions to each of those, but for the majority of the teams, speed is still king. So for that, mods are still heavily needed.
I think
Otherwise, though, Datacrons, I mean, okay, look at Sidious, right? When Sidious had his cron, you didn't have to have really any garbage mods, green mods on Sidious, and he was still able to solo teams.
Yeah.
Because the cron made him solo teams, not the mods. So I think at a point right now, it's leaning Datacrons, but you still have to have the mods, so it still benefits both. If they ever get to a point where they start adding level 3s and level 6s that increase speed outright, not just you get speed when they die, or you get speed or whatever, right? And not just turn meter, right? When they start adding speed, or God forbid they ever add speed as a stat to mods or to Datacrons, that's when I think Datacrons will completely overrun mods. But right now it's kind of,
well, I'd
say like 60-40.
They
maybe.
kind of have done that already to some degree. Okay. So here's kind of where I'm coming at with this conversation, guys. Let me go ahead and switch screens here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So in my most recent GAC that I had, and I've always been a big supporter of Datacrons because it allows counters to be able to beat GLs. Mm-hmm. Where we're running into issues now, and we talked a little bit about this in last week's episode, is that the Datacrons are becoming more and more and more ability powerful. When they first came out, it was more about the stats, which would make teams very difficult to beat, to be clear. But you could still beat them. Now, crons are getting more and more dependent on abilities, on specifically top-end characters that are brand new and you have to pay money for. That's not always the case, but speed has kind of crept into this. You can see this with this current mod, guys. The level 3, first time each light side ally is defeated, remaining light side allies gain 15% offense, 20 speed stacking for the rest of the encounter. This is phenomenal on Array, for instance. I don't have a massive issue with this, but it's a very, very powerful cron. Where I have more of an issue, to be honest with you, is these level 9s that are just insanely powerful on new-ish characters.
Are these your crons?
These are my crons, yes.
God, you're a whale.
No, and I'm not. That's the thing.
A lot of level 9s.
That's a lot. Yes. Well, the purple ones, yeah. I well, remember we had Luthen, and I was in no hurry to get Luthen because I wasn't going to be able to use him right away. So I focused more on crons. So my purple set's a little misleading. I am not normally that many level 9s.
Okay.
Whereas you can see, like my green, this is a little bit more representative. Even then, I'm still going to have a lot more than what I typically would have. I'm probably going to end up with like maybe 14 level 9s. But anyway, where I'm going with this is in my most recent GAC, it's probably the first time ever where I've lost a GAC, not because of what he had on his roster in terms of characters and mods. So our mods were pretty evenly matched. He had an advantage on me in roster. Everyone does, though. That's not anything unusual. Where we came into an issue is that, so he only set 2 GLs on defense, but he had teams on defense with ridiculous crons. I just couldn't beat. I had to multi-shot so many different teams. And don't get me wrong, it's at least it's not the Great Mother Cron where no team can beat it, essentially, unless you have this one very, very specific team. But that GAC I lost because of crons. I didn't lose it because he had a better roster than me in terms of characters and or mods. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a dangerous road to go down. I'm sure the top-end Kyber 1 players have been seeing this for a long time. But eventually, I would think this is going to trickle down to other players down below us because, and here's my biggest complaint, because of the insane ability parts that are in the Crons now versus earlier when it was more stat-based stuff. Do you think, Ram, that this is a healthy thing to have come to the game, especially from a defensive side of things? I don't mind the Sidious Cron. I don't mind a Bane Cron, where it's exclusively used on offense. But to have this stuff on defense, I'm not a fan. I don't know. What do you think?
It adds a different aspect to it. It's hard to go one way or the other because on the one side, the same Crons that they're putting down on defense, you have the opportunity to put down on defense.
Unless so it's you a could give.
Unless it's the whale cron, right? Right? I'm not making any sort of.
And then you could argue that you do have petition. That opportunity if you spend money. But anyway,
you could, but I'm not making any sort of acknowledgement or agreement for the whale crons. I disagree with those. We discussed that last week. I don't like those necessarily, but the regular crons. While the level 6s and level 9s and level 3s may be crazy, you have the same opportunity to put those down as well if you re-roll for them, right? So, in a sense, you can give your opponent the same heartache that he's giving you.
True.
At the same time, I just really don't like fighting against it on offense, so maybe they could tone it down a little bit, but I don't see them toning it down. So I guess where I'm at is if you can't beat them, join them. Like, yeah, for 3v3, everybody knows I hate 3v3. I despise it. I loathe it. I loathe it almost as much as Shaka loathes Inquisitors. And so I came up so many times where I would have opponents who would they hated 3v3 so much that they placed everything on defense. All GLs, everything. And I was just at a point where I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do my one battle with Bane and I'm going to get my points. I'm going to call it a day. So I did the exact same thing and I just loaded my entire defense with GLs. That's all I have on my front walls is GLs.
Yeah.
And I think like one other team. That's it.
See, that's not a fun approach in my opinion.
It's not, but it's only like that for 3s. With 5s, 5s is a little bit more. I can make fun things happen. Just 3s is just awful. But that's just my approach to 3s.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what you're saying
Crons
about
is a slippery slope.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about I have the same opportunity as they do to farm them. Yeah. I think my bigger issue is that I just think the abilities in these Crons are getting too OP. It's too much. I don't mind the stats. I don't like these insane paragraph abilities that are happening. That's my bigger issue, I think, with it than anything else. But
I think the paragraph level 9s, those are fine. Right? Okay. I think like the cool ones like Plo Koon and East Koth, right? Those are cool because what use are you getting with those characters?
They're also legacy characters too. Yeah.
Right. The paragraph level 6s can be cool, but it definitely can encroach on power. And then you don't really see game-changing level 3s outside of what was that one?
The thick crons or
the thick crons.
But even then, those are just stats. Those aren't abilities.
Right.
So, let us know in the comments, guys. I guess the bigger question is not so much that is GAC being dictated by crons, because that's more, I think, dependent on where you're at in the game. But do you guys like the idea that the abilities on crons are becoming much, much, much more extensive, in my opinion, is the way I'll word that. Or do you like it? Do you like the fact that it adds a lot of new layers and nuances to kits and characters and teams? Maybe I'm just salty because I lost. It's very possible. Like I said, let us know in the comments down below, guys. All right. Last but not least, guys, we're going to get into our Master of Memes. So those of you who don't know, we run this on Friday nights over on Twitch. You guys submit your meme suggestions to us over on Discord, and then we vote on those over on Twitch. So this week, guys, we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to be looking at the wrong screen here. Give me a second, guys.
Oh, black screen.
No, it's right. Okay, never mind. Woo! Wait, no, it's not. There we go. Now it's right screen. Shock is professional, guys. Okay. Master of memes for this week, guys. And I was told I have to do this. I have to do the sound effect. We have, when you bite into the food and it's too hot, so you got to do the reverse blow technique. Versus, on this May the 4th, crack into a Yingling. Look at those poor little children, guys. Those poor little children. Ram, what do you think? Which one of these do you like better, sir?
Man, so even though you had the sound effect with it, and I mean, the sound effect generally will sway me to go one way or the other because the sound effect is just that atrocious and that bad. I love, and I'm not a beer drinker at all. I just never found a beer that I'm like, I love and I have to have. I prefer liquor. But I love to play on words with the whole May the 4th, the Yingling versus Youngling, whatever. The background of petrified children, like, that's just cool. So I got to go with the May the 4th one. But correct me if I'm wrong, I remember this was a draw, right? You were the deciding vote on this?
So, yeah. So I'm obviously not going to tell you which one I picked because usually when we run this poll, guys, on Twitch on Fridays, we have the audience with the deciding the win. This is one of those rare occasions when we don't use channel points, and we actually had a tie. So usually when we have a tie, I am the deciding factor. I choose the one that wins. I had to go with the Star Wars theme, guys. As much as I like both of them, I thought they were both very good. Our master of memes for this week, guys, is crack into a Yingling. Congrats to Contingent. Contingent is the one that submitted this, guys. He is maintaining his title as Master of Memes. Guys, if you like these memes and you want to continue getting involved in this, feel free to head over to Discord. If you hated this meme and you think you've got better memes, head over to Discord and add your memes over in our Master of Memes channel, guys. Like I said, if you get the win on our Friday night polls, then you get not only a shout out on our Twitch stream on Fridays, you get a shout out here on Rogue Actions, and you get a special role and a shout out over on Discord as well. So, head over there, guys.
We'll get to it in about 6 months.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a lot of memes. It's very popular. It is very popular. Ram, any final parting words for us before we call it a day here?
You heard it here first, guys. Shaka is going to farm Inquisitors.
Well, Inquisitor. Yeah, no Inquisitor.
He's going to farm an Inquisitor.
And that's, I said that it's not against my manifesto. I didn't say I actually was going to do it.
He'll do it.
Maybe.
He'll do it. We'll make sure. Sweens, everybody. Yeah, we'll make sure.
Salty. That's all I'm going to say. That's the theme of today's videos, guys. I'm salty across the board. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, speaking of saltiness, make sure you guys get over there. Yeah, get over there. Make sure you guys like the like the like button, please. And then subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, everybody. This is officially a off the rails show at this point, guys. Last but not least, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you guys next week here on Rogue Actions. Peace.